I'm Tamara Thomas, editor-in-chief of UrbanHealthToday.com, part of the DocWire family of medical news sites, and I want to thank you for tuning in to Urban Health Weekly. Our goal each week is to keep you informed of the latest in health and medical news right from today's headlines. It's time to empower yourself with open conversations about your medical care with news that matters to you. So are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, I'm Tamara Thomas, and welcome to Urban Health Weekly, where we talk about medical news and health topics that matter to you. So I'm here with Jackie and Lou. How are you guys?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Great.
I'm okay.
Well, ready to get going.
First of all, I just wanted to revisit a couple of topics with some new data. Now, remember we talked about the NovoNordisk drug semaglutide?
Oh, yeah.
The glucagon-like peptide 1. Well, it turns out that studies are now showing that the GLP-1 receptor agonist is associated with increased risk of gallbladder or biliary diseases, with a higher risk for GLP-1 RA use in weight loss, according to a review published recently on JAMA Internal Medicine. Li Yun-hee from the Peking Union Medical College Hospital in China and colleagues conducted a systematic review of randomized controlled trials comparing the use of GLP-1 RA drugs with placebo or with non-GLP-1 RA drugs in adults to examine the association with gallbladder and biliary diseases. Data from 76 randomized controlled trials with over 103,000 patients were included in the meta-analysis. The researchers found that randomization of GLP-1 RA treatment among all included trials were associated with increased risk for gallbladder or biliary diseases, specifically cholelithiasis, cholecystitis, and biliary disease. GLP-1 RA use was associated with an elevated risk for gallbladder or biliary disease in trials for weight loss and for type 2 diabetes and other diseases. Oh my goodness. So remember they were talking about, they want to tackle the science behind weight loss. This is just something to think about if you're considering this option, because you could.
What was that med for again? What was the name of it? What was that med again?
Semaglutide.
Okay.
So this was the NovoNordisk drug, and I forgot the name. The UK version is I forgot the UK name of it as well. But this is basically a drug that they use where they basically introduce GLP-1, the glucagon-like peptide. So this is glucagon-like peptide 1 receptor agonist, which is, I guess, the drug version of the GLP-1 that your body creates to quell hunger. And remember, we talked about that.
It's not necessarily hunger. It affects the ghrelin.
Right. So it's not necessarily hunger why people overeat.
Yes.
And remember, this is
overeat because you're hungry. That was my argument. Yeah.
Exactly. And then how many weeks was this? This was well over 52 weeks. This was almost like 70 weeks of taking this. Well, they found that, taking this thing for long periods of time increases your risk for gallbladder and biliary diseases. Now, if you think you don't need your gallbladder, just here's this little list of syndromes that you could suffer from if you lose your gallbladder, which, by the way, if you lose your gallbladder, you also lose the concentration of your bile, biliary disease. Some symptoms of syndromes include fatty food intolerance, so goodbye burgers and fries, nausea, vomiting, flatulence. Yeah, because you don't have proper digestion, and now this food is just sitting in your gut, rotting essentially. It's not being digested properly, and it's creating all of this gases, and that's blowing you up. Indigestion, obviously, because you can't digest properly now, and diarrhea because the food is not digesting properly, and then your body has to get rid of this sludge. And then there's jaundice, which is the yellow tinge to the skin and the whites of the eyes, because your bile is because what happens is your gallbladder is the place that holds the bile. But without a gallbladder, the bile is just leaking into your intestines and leaking into your bloodstream and making you yellow. And then episodes of abdominal pain. So these are just some things to think about if your doctor thinks that this is the way to go.
A good trade-off.
you can either do weight loss the right way, or your gastroenterologist can remove your gallbladder in a year's time. I mean, there's something to think about.
Okay.
Thoughts?
Ouch.
I'm not doing it. I'm completely canceling my subscription to all those websites.
Very funny. There's no subscription website that gives it to you. You have
Yes,
to
they
see your
do.
doctor.
No.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah.
Oh, don't say the name of it.
I won't say the name.
Don't say the name. You said it before, but don't say it this time. That's because
you
your
have
friend.
to bleep me out.
Yeah, exactly. You have to
Get out
get
of here.
bleeped out.
Bleep.
Yeah,
I want to see
it
that
will be
technology.
bleeped because we have to protect the names of.
I want to see that technology at work. But basically, you go on these websites. They're very closely correlated to these men's health websites. They give you all these.
Yes. I remember
drugs.
you talking about that.
And you go on there, and you do see a doctor or an NP, somebody can prescribe. And then once they figure that your BMI, I think to qualify, your BMI has to be 30 plus.
Yes, 30.
And once they figure out, they'll ask you weight,
But then they're not really asking you important questions, and they're not asking you to do the deep dive.
I didn't know you could do that. You could go on about.
Hold on. When we go on break, I'll tell you the name of the site. So
Oh my God.
Oh my God, so I can make sure not to go there. Wow.
That's right. Yeah, he has.
Who needs a gallbladder anyway? I mean, I want to look.
Very
In
funny.
the hospital, they were always taking out gallbladders when in lieu of heart condition, because sometimes it can overlap.
Oh, really? How so?
Yeah. Well, apparently sometimes it can mimic like heart pain and
if they get
stuff like
clogged.
that.
If they get clogged.
Ooh,
Yes.
sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have gallstones.
Oh yes, yes, that's right.
Yeah, when they get clogged that way, they take them out. But anyway, I'm not a big proponent of those sites. I know that they exist. I've actually worked with a couple just to help them with traffic and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, I'm not really impressed.
You're going in person to see a doctor?
They get results, but it's at what cost?
Well, this is the cost. So now you know what the cost is. In case anyone was thinking, what harm can it do?
Parts of the whole.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So moving on, Will Smith's slap was a trauma response. So psychiatrist Melissa Hankins, MD, she wrote this on Kevin MD about that whole Oscars kerfuffle. She said, what we witnessed Will Smith do in assaulting Chris Rock during the Academy Awards ceremony was a trauma response. A trauma response can take many forms and look like slapping someone for saying the wrong thing, yelling at someone for not doing something fast enough or that is not up to your standards, avoiding or not responding to a boss's emails about scheduling an upcoming performance review, having to do everything perfectly since otherwise you felt anxious or unsettled, not setting boundaries around your time and energy because you're worried about confrontation and upsetting another person, or working endless hours without taking time for yourself or the things and people you enjoy because your job is your primary source and measure of your self-worth and value. Ah, damn, sounds like a lot of us have.
Sounds
like a lot of us have trauma then.
Right.
Will Smith detailed in his 2021 autobiography, Will, that he witnessed physical violence at home as a child. He wrote, when I was 9 years old, I watched my father punch my mother in the side of the head so hard that she collapsed. I saw her spit blood. That moment in that bedroom, probably more than any other moment in my life, has defined who I am. Within everything that I have done since then, the awards and accolades, the spotlights and attention, the characters and the laughs, there's been a subtle string of apologies to my mother for my inaction that day, for failing her at the moment, for failing to stand up to my father, for being a coward. So the combination of Rock targeting Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, for his joke, along with the look on her face, signaling to Smith her level of upset and distress, triggered a split-second accessing and instantly being placed inside of that earlier memory when he was 9 years old and unable to protect his mom, the woman he loved. Smith's reaction at the award ceremony was that of the 9-year-old traumatized little boy who simply reacted in the way that boy wanted to react back then. Does having a history of trauma give someone a free pass for the present day trauma reaction that involved the harming, physical, verbally, or emotionally of another? No, of course not. However, it does highlight the importance of understanding trauma and its many manifestations, rather than simply vilify Smith and say he has an anger problem, which I don't believe he has an anger problem. People close to him can help him recognize that this is a trauma problem and help him get the trauma-informed help in the form of therapy. She lists a few modalities that you can read about that at your leisure on Urban Health Weekly when it's posted. But for me, this gives me a whole new way of looking at this, because I swore up and down that Jada had made him promise that he'd take action the next time he saw Chris Rock, and he had to make good on his word. That you couldn't have told me anything else. This, however, I mean, what do you guys think of this? Do you feel different?
I think it's a thoughtful response. Also, did he just say that he's going to go? Is he going to go into some sort of rehab for this, like a trauma rehab or something? Is he taking proactive action?
No. This is what the psychiatrist, Melissa Hankins, MD.
Right. But
I don't know that he said.
Okay, because
I don't know that he said he's going to
he takes charge and he's like, going to make amends. But this makes a lot of sense. That's that emotional dysregulation that's triggered by that makes a lot of sense. I find, it's a compassionate way of looking at it, trying to get to the bottom of things. Yes.
But what's interesting? So I was looking at something else, and then I saw this post. Apparently, people on the internet, they dug up this old post that was on Jada's Instagram. This was from 2019. So this is like, 3 years ago, where she, I guess, was doing promo for Red Table Talk. I sent you the video. And in the video, she starts asking him these questions. And he has like a definite stress reaction where he's like touching his face and trying to, because like that's the universal when people rub their face, it's like they're trying to like self-soothe. And then he starts like clutching his arm across his chest and stuff. And he says to her, I would really appreciate it if you would have asked me to film before you started filming.
Oh, so it got sprung upon him and he needs some processing time.
Right, exactly. Because they're at home and she just kind of and Instagram is one of those things where you just whip out your phone and you just start filming. And so she started filming, and I guess he's used to her, talking to her audience, but when she turned it all around on him, he wasn't prepared. And he said that to her, and he wasn't too happy. And he said something along the lines of like, look, my social media and my presence and everything are my bread and butter. And I would just really have appreciated you not springing this on me. I'm paraphrasing. These are not the exact words he said, but this was the sentiment. Yeah, that was the gist of what he said, that I would really appreciate if you wouldn't use me in this manner for your social media. And this is a very compassionate way of looking at it. And that's probably part of it. But I'm still semi-convinced that this was a bit of influence. That's all I'll say. Thoughts, Lou?
I just got to say that at this point, I'm beyond asking him why he did this. Or what caused it.
He has to get treatment right away.
I think we just have to focus on consequences. Look, a joke was told, he didn't like it, and he went up, slapped the face of a 57-year-old man who's half his size.
He's in his 50s also.
He's also a lot more fit. He slapped a much smaller person in the face on national TV on one of the highest rated shows that's live. Then he started screaming obscenities. So what are the consequences going to be? And that to me is where we should be focusing our discussion. Because, I did it because there's no justification for that. There's just no justification. Usually there's very little justification for physical violence unless you're getting punched in the face.
But the thing, Lou, though, is it's odd, because it's so out of character for someone like him who is how do you go 50 plus years being cool, calm, collected, right?
Mhm.
And then
Well,
one
that's
day,
just some weird change going on. Like he's got to get
That's-
treatment. Yeah.
that's
Well, men go through menopause too, you know. I mean,
I
know.
don't think this. Okay, now we're getting into some other.
Maybe it's roid rage or something. Who knows? Who knows what's going on?
You know, I think this is did you see that HBO scenes from a marriage? Like these are scenes from a marriage. There's something.
Yeah, there's
on.
a weird dynamic going on there.
Something going on there, and I really believe that there is a lot more tension under the surface there than, and it's not our business. Obviously, their marriage is their business. It's just that, you know, when these little things start bubbling up and over for the public to see, then it piques interest.
Yeah, it's leaking. It's leaking
Right.
out.
Exactly. And so that's what's happening now. There's like leaks in that airtight
Okay, but
Hollywood.
Okay, so the first question is he an organic nut? Meaning, is this happening naturally, or has she driven him to nuttiness? I think that boils down.
It could be a little bit of both, though.
But either way, it needs treatment of some sort.
Okay,
yeah.
But I'm still not excusing the behavior.
Oh, no one's excusing the behavior. Not even this doctor.
Whether she's driven him and nagged him into like an uncontrollable state, or nagging can get you there. I guess it does. Or he's just slowly unraveling for God knows what reason.
Right.
Or it's a little bit of both, where we saw a glimpse, a moment where a person just completely lost control. Now, I think, you know, and of course everybody discusses that first before you figure out what the consequences are. But I don't think there's been enough discussion as to what the consequences should be. How do you make amends? How do you move forward? Everybody's saying,
yeah,
whoa.
You're right, because at the end of the day, Chris Rock was doing his job and he was still slapped in the face on national television, and no one seems to be talking about that.
The other people who got the award, there was a,
and that's right, and the rest of the show was overshadowed, completely overshadowed by
some stuff. Is like it was the first Asian American, Southeast Asian American that's ever won an Academy Award. Right after that, like nobody even saw it. Everybody was so busy tweeting on their phone. Did you just see what happened?
Yeah, you know? And getting over the trauma of witnessing
Chris Rock even flubbed the award a little bit when he was reading it.
He just got slapped silly.
Not that I blame him. Not that I think he did an exceptional job of
under the circumstances.
But that recovery was impressive.
What should the consequences be? And look, this brings me back 40. I always go back 40 years. I used to work for a leading fashion magazine. And this was, I'm literally saying 40 years ago. I was nothing but a rookie. I was the guy who brought the sodas into the room and all of that, and had to stay in the room to run the projector and whatnot. But I remember it was one of these long conference rooms, the kind, you know, like the boardroom. This is in the boardroom. And they were arguing over a photo shoot. It was a fashion photo shoot. And the argument was that one person didn't feel that Fujifilm was ever good enough to catch images, and these photos were taken by Fujifilm. They weren't Kodak or whatever. And
Kodak was the gold standard back then.
And the argument got so heated that the person who took the pictures stood up on the table, ran across the table, dove into the person who was talking, and they got into a fist fight. And I remember this was one of my first meetings that I was actually in the boardroom, and I was wondering, like,
wow,
does this type of stuff happen all the time, or is this just like today? I mean,
oh my God,
that's bananas.
Okay, so all this violence happened, which was kind of akin to this. And then I was told, oh no, this kind of stuff goes on. And then to my amazement, the next meeting, they were still both there. You know, like nothing happened.
Wow, that toxic work culture. The standards were like, poof.
Yep, a brand new argument, and you know, these are newsstand publications. I'm not going to say the name of them because they still exist and they're still, you know, top, stuff you see every time you go to the supermarket.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I was wondering, like, wow. And then I was thinking to myself, what if I did this? Was it what if I didn't like a comment of the projector? You think the projector guy is going to get away with it? I don't think so. And he's getting away with it right now because of who he is. But if it was the security guy that didn't like something because it struck home or something, right now that person be in jail right now.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm, you know, I've processed this, and my feelings are, you know, we could do 360 dives into what caused it, and all those things are interesting conversations. But what I want to hear is what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think part of the thumb twiddling by the Academy right now is, and I'm just gonna come out and say it, I think because they're still coming off of that Oscar so white hashtag, and he's a black star, and they don't know what to do. You know, they said that they asked him to leave, then they're finding, and he refused to leave. Then we're finding out that they didn't really quite ask him to leave. Now they're trying to say that Chris Rock insisted that he stayed. Chris Rock's camp said, hell no, that's not what happened.
Wow.
I think that they're in a conundrum right now because of the climate that we live in, that they don't want to make the wrong step with Black people. And also there's the fact that he's a huge international star. Yeah. So I think they really just don't know what to do. Like, they know that they have to do something, but they're just not sure what to do. So, I mean, that's a good point, Lou. It's a good point. At the end of the day, there still should be consequences. But I don't think we were saying that there shouldn't be consequences.
I know, but
I just, it was just an interesting perspective.
When we
and a
start
very
getting
compassionate.
into why somebody did it, to me, sometimes that leads.
That's interesting. Yeah, we're
generations. You know,
getting distracted. Yes.
Okay.
You know the whys.
I mean, I still feel the way I feel.
Yeah.
That whys, you know, that there should be some repercussion. I still feel that, but you know, it's a different perspective. That's all. But you're right. You know, we should.
And also the repercussions. I can see also what Lou's saying, which is true, that the repercussions haven't happened yet.
Yeah.
Like, it's slow. It should be swift and inevitable, and it sure isn't.
Well, because right now they're at this really weird place where this huge star, who also is a Black man in America at a time where Black men are being considered, you know, like a deified endangered species. They don't know what to do. This is still a very white organization, and they're terrified.
You know, but you know, when you're at the top of the pyramid, you get away with a lot.
Yes.
Black or white.
It's
and
true.
He's at the top. You know, again, I'll go back to some of the shows that we talked about. Aaron Rodgers, you know, he's top 3. He gets away with lying about a whole bunch of stuff. Vaccination.
Oh yeah, because he's like top of the heap.
What's some BS?
Yeah.
You think somebody else is going to get away with that? I mean, people. If you're not at the top.
Yeah.
You know, when you're at the top and you're really performing, which he is, you know, Will Smith right now is really performing. He's bringing in all sorts of money to Hollywood.
Yeah.
And a lot of people there.
Well, they used to call him Mr. July. I don't know if they still call him that anymore.
I call him Mr. Money.
Because every year, every July, a movie would come out and it would be like a huge blockbuster.
You know, and everybody there, look, these people are all in the industry and they're thinking, well, maybe I should shut up because maybe I'll be in the next show, or maybe I'll be in the Bel Air or whatever his new show is, or his new movie or whatever. So maybe I should just keep my mouth shut. We don't have to keep our mouth shut because, you know, we're never going to get hired by him. I'm never going to be his co-star.
Right.
And I'm never going to.
And because wrong is wrong.
But, you know, when we look at excesses, those people at the top of the pyramid.
Right. They are connected to him somehow and dependent on his money in many ways.
You know,
and they can't bite the hand that feeds them. That's the other part.
Yeah, and
they're in a conundrum
with a lot of stuff. And my feeling is like, no, it shouldn't be. Like,
I agree.
I think Aaron Rodgers should have gotten suspended. Too
Absolutely.
bad he's going to the playoffs. Oh well, you know.
Yeah.
You know, he got eliminated, but that doesn't matter. I mean, he shouldn't have.
That's just the heavens conspiring to make things right.
Yeah, he made it right. You know, I dropped the ball, so he didn't win.
Right.
but at the end of the day, it's like,
I get
come
it.
on.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah,
Okay.
come
All
on.
right. So fine. So you've made your point. We'll
Yeah.
move on.
All right, let's move on.
Yeah.
Okay, until this is a firm diagnosis, I think.
Well, I think you're right. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter why. It doesn't matter if why the crackhead punched you.
Mhm.
They were high out of their mind. It still hurts, right?
Exactly.
Like, I get what you're saying.
There still has to be consequences.
Right, exactly. It doesn't matter that they were high as a kite, high out of their mind. At the end of the day, they still did what they did, and yeah, so I get it. I get it. You're right. I was just introducing another point of view, but your point is taken. Vaping increases diabetes risk. Frequent vaping can increase a person's risk of developing high blood sugar, known in medical circles as prediabetes, which is reversible but often leads to full-blown type 2 diabetes and a host of serious health problems later in life, according to the report published in the American Journal of Preventive Medicine. Our study demonstrated a clear association of prediabetes risk with the use of e-cigarettes, said lead study author Shaim Biswal, an environmental health science professor at Baltimore's Johns Hopkins University. With both e-cigarette use and the prevalence of prediabetes dramatically on the rise in the past decade, our discovery that e-cigarettes carry a similar risk of traditional cigarettes with respect to diabetes is important for understanding and treating vulnerable individuals. In the past, the trendy e-cigarettes have been linked to more than 200 health issues, including brittle bones, erectile dysfunction, and even eating disorders. Holy moly.
Wow.
And that's already a laundry list of side effects. And here's yet another reason not to vape, but apparently it's the thing to do. Wowee. It's actually worse than smoking. I thought smoking was the worst, but now vaping has entered the pantheon and taken over smoking.
We don't even know what's in that vape, right? We
exactly.
have a better sense, and there might be like 1,000 ingredients in that vape.
Oh my God, it's so toxic. You can't. But you know what? I had a thought though about this pre-diabetes thing. And you know what goes hand in hand with smoking?
Eating, drinking
coffee.
What?
And let me tell you,
if we're gonna get into that, we're gonna have to take a break right now.
Well, I'm putting this out there. I'm putting this out there. Hear me out. Smoking and coffee go together. Now, this is not your vending machine coffee that we're talking about the lattes and the macchiatos and the ventis and all of that stuff. Those things are loaded with sugar. Remember, Jackie, you and I talked about that.
Oh,
about the amount of sugar.
That connection. That's interesting.
That's what I'm saying. And I'm sorry for calling out Starbucks, but that's the popular, thing. The amount of sugar in those drinks was so astounding. I was in the process of doing an order online. So, and I was walking to the store to get my Starbucks because that was going to be my meal replacement since I hadn't eaten. And I said, just on a lark, I said, let me see how much sugar this thing has.
Wow.
It has over 3 times the daily sugar allowance in one drink.
Wow.
I was like, holy moly. I canceled the order and I didn't. I was like, I'll wait till I get home and
wow.
Forget about it. Because it was so much. So I'm just thinking that, have they looked at the overall lifestyle of the person who vapes? Are these people who also partake of takeout food, of fast food, of coffee to go, and that kind of stuff? I'm just wondering if that might be part of it too. Have they factored that in? And I'm not saying that vaping doesn't have, look, it's got 200 other health issues attached to it. It's bad. But I'm just wondering if there's a connection there, just a lifestyle connection.
Well, I think it's an 18 to 25-year-old.
Yeah.
Those are the people who are ending up with all of these,
all these conditions. Diabetes,
pre-diabetes, and
cardiovascular. They talked about eating disorders with that, though. I would think it's people are using it as a snack or meal replacement. That's the vibe I'm getting. I hadn't thought about
in terms of the vaping.
Yeah. That's what I'm
Using
thinking.
vaping as a meal replacement?
Well, they're just delaying, instead of snacking, they're vaping, and you're getting a
Oh, the same hand to mouth.
yeah.
Okay.
And also you're getting a hit of, of nicotine or something. Yeah, you're getting all the stuff that goes with it.
Right.
So like you're getting rewarded. It's replacing instead of eating sugar. That's why when you said the sugar coffee combo and vaping, I hadn't thought of that at all. I thought, instead of sugar, you're vaping. But
I mean,
that's
it could be that too. It could be that too. It could be there are endocrine disruptors, in the
oh
vaping.
yeah. If it's doing something to diabetes, if it's
Yeah.
like giving you a little, that's interesting.
Yeah. So but I was just wondering about the connection to the coffee. That's all. Because those acts you tend to go hand in hand. You see people outside all the time with their coffee slash cigarette on their coffee break type thing. So I was just wondering. Thanks for listening to Urban Health Weekly today. I hope you'll join me and my friends next week so you can stay informed and inspired to take control of your health. See you next time.